Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Healthy Health. I'm a multi-award winner for fitness and motivational speaking. Impressive, I know. Today we'll be talking about a new field of biology called epigenetics. Some people believe that our genes control every aspect of our life, that everything we do is predestined. Epigenetics challenges this. Your genes do not make you, it's the choices we make that influence our lives. But before we dive in, how did we get here? At first, there was this idea formed by Gregor Mendel that all your genes were hereditary. That is, the idea that all your genes are passed on from parent to child. This made sense because children tended to look like a mix of their parents, until someone brought up identical twins. They weren't the same person despite having the same genes. That's when Francis Galton came up with the idea that it was how you were nurtured, not your nature, that made you, you. Epigenetics takes both of these into account and explains that while the genes you were born with are the ones that you're stuck with, your environment also affects your genes by up to 60%. As A.G. Riddle once said, our genes might control the possibilities, but epigenetics determines our destiny. It is the study of how both your nature and nurture can affect the way your genes are expressed. While the identical twins may appear quite similar to each other, they may act differently due to their experiences. In biological terms, the same way you might place a sticky note on your food to make sure that your roommate doesn't eat it, small labels called epigenetic tags are placed on DNA. These can switch on or off your expression of your genes, similar to letting your roommate eat your food or not. It's amazing. Oh, would you look at the time? It seems like it's bad thematic pickup line time. Okay, maybe it's not exactly thematic, it's not epigenetics, but definitely genetics in general. Here goes nothing. Well, I must be adenine because I want to be paired with you. You know, like you, uracil. Today's episode is sponsored by Grammarly. We all know that writing's not that easy. Sometimes we write sentences that are grammatically correct but they're wordy and hard to read. It undermines the writer's message and the word choice is bland. I use Grammarly's cutting-edge technology to revise my, dare I say, rather compelling speeches before I present them to the world. Besides, it also helps edit my scripts for podcasts such as this one. I'm like my own personal proofreader. Are you ready to give it a try? Installation's simple and free. Visit Grammarly.com today. Anyways, this knowledge can be used to prevent people from developing a disease. Let's take endometriosis as an example. Statistically speaking, you'd know 30 people who have this condition. Pretty important, right? An excess of estrogen typically causes it. To prevent or slow the effects of endo, one would have to lower the estrogen levels. Fruits like broccoli, kale, and cabbage support estrogen receptors. A study conducted in 2004 shows that people who eat anti-inflammatory foods have a reduced chance of developing endometriosis. So by simply eating leafy greens or, once again, broccoli, which are anti-inflammatory foods, one could prevent themselves from having endo. Managing stress is a practical solution for everyday people to implement, especially considering the innumerable amount of coping mechanisms: journaling, meditating, exercising, cooking, just to name a few. These could help manage mental health conditions such as anxiety, depression, and addiction, as well as physical ones. But you're probably wondering, how does stress tie in with reducing estrogen levels? Great question, listener. The stress hormone cortisol is aligned with estrogen in the sense that when one increases, so does the other. By reducing one's stress, one in turn reduces the estrogen levels. There are also other ways to reduce symptoms of endometriosis, for example with medication, but epigenetics shows that if you are able to stop the genes from being expressed in the first place, one needn't worry about one of these more serious treatments. However, if you do happen to know someone who suffers from endometriosis, let them know that essential oils like castor oil can reduce pain and inflammation. Once again, endometriosis is an inflammatory disease in its nature, so anything that's anti-inflammatory can help reduce the symptoms. But back to epigenetics. Why, after all, is it such a hidden science? Why don't we talk about it more often?
Only you can come up with the answer, because I believe that epigenetics should be talked about more broadly to prevent disease and reduce stigma. For instance, back to endo, a survey was conducted in Puerto Rico where the consensus was that people with endometriosis were, excuse my Spanish, changueras. It is a term used for someone who complains a lot or for no reason. In any case, by being open about a condition, we can reduce stigma, and by spreading the word about epigenetics, we can empower people with choice.
As Louisa L. Williams once said, fundamentally, our life is determined not by genetics but by epigenetics. That is, the environment we live and create for ourselves primarily determines the expression of our genes and our level of health.
Anywho, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast, and I'll see you later. Bye!